we react, we do reviews, we do other videos on. Please subscribe and tap in and let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what's going on, what's big, what's bigger, what's going on in this time, and if you do enjoy, please stick around and let's continue our conversation. Okay, take care. Bye. Hi, welcome to Ocean. Hi, welcome to Ocean Yumi's channel. So basically, after the report yesterday, the parents responded to what was said in the report. I want to play the rest of the report, the rest of what was said in the report by Dr. Lee, and just to finish it off, because I want to just add it to my playlist as well. It needs to be added to the rest of the playlist. And I'm also going to give the response of the parents. It's like a slap in the face. I know there is still, I speak to a lot of people about Lucy Letsby. A lot of people's like, the evidence is too strong against her for her to be innocent, first and foremost. And then, the keepsakes, what she kept for the children, just makes no, like that's what serial demises always do. So with that said, I'm going to go find the rest of the conference to play it. Now what they were saying. What the part I left off was when the lady was saying that how maybe the babies was put into wrong suites, wrong places, because there's suites which is labeled 3, 2, and 1 for each baby that has special whatever's wrong with them, like if they're born prematurely, if they have real bad alterations or real bad elements, and they'll be put into different suites. So they're saying that because like each infant wasn't given the right amount of treatment, and that's why some of the infants passed away. They are now trying to change what is being said about Lucy Letsby. They're trying to look over what she's done and certain stuff. And what's more disturbing about it is that like now Dr. Lee has spoken. Now the NHS has decided, because the lady that I'm gonna put on, who was talking after Dr. Lee, she explains about the suites and the different suites and the way it's set, and how there is a lot of defaults and certain stuff. To be honest, at first I wasn't going to do this one today. I was actually going to give it a break because there was so much yesterday that was said that was so not only sad. I personally feel for the parents. I feel for the parents, and I feel for the ones who tried so hard to get a child who's probably, like I said, miscarriage, finally got a child, to have it snatched in such a way. Right. And I know I think somebody corrected me and say don't call him angel of death, but she is an angel of death. And I believe, like, if she does come out of this, she will do it again. And it won't be, that means that parents will either have to, or people will either have to figure out what type of places they're going to have their children and how they're going to be cared for after having the children. Because if you cannot go have your child, then they get taken to a NICU, a suite where they are taken care of without someone like Lucy Letsby around your children, right? It's scary for parents. I mean, it's been a scary world for a very long time, but when an actual serial unaliver has been caught and now it's like they're trying to say she's innocent, that's when it gets a bit more technical. But I'm hoping that this is not going to run over 2 hours this time around, because the video was near to come to an end. But I'm going to play it anyway, because I'm going to present it, because I want to put this as part of the Lucy Letsby playlist.
Of Chester, who should probably have been born at a level 3 neonatal unit. So the point I want to make is that medicine is a continuum, it's a team effort, and things can go wrong at multiple places. But were those questions asked? Was that discussion held between obstetric and neonatal teams? And should some of these babies not have been born at the Countess of Chester? Your second point relates to qualifications. I think here one wants to draw a distinction between qualifications and experience. And self-evidently, a level 2 neonatal unit is not going to have the throughput that a major tertiary centre is going to have. So the staff, no matter how well trained, no matter how competent, no matter how appropriately qualified, will simply not have the experience because they're not seeing that flow of patients through the unit. So sometimes in level 2 units, the staff are forced to look after babies because babies have been born there, forced to look after babies who should not have been cared for. This is no criticism of them. They're doing the best they can under the circumstances that are presented to them. So that's a second consideration. The third is that, as we all know, the NHS has been under great strain, staffing has been a problem, and many neonatal units around the country, including the Countess of Chester, have had staffing issues and have not been able to fill their rotas appropriately. So I think what I'm saying is that all of the above, but they're all weighing in different ways in each of the cases that we've discussed.
It's also notable that they downgraded the day they suspended Lucy, which tells you something as well. Yes, ma'am. Second row. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin at PA. A question for Mr. McDonald. You mentioned today deaths due to natural causes, bad medical care, inadequate staffing, etc., etc. These were all things that were explored extensively by the defence at the trial. Examples relating to baby 4, baby 11, about potential issues with the air leak. So my question to you is this just a rehash of the defence case rather than new evidence?
When it came time to take things to the next level, I knew that I had to make a website, and Wix was
The difficulty is, if you do not have an expert at a trial, then what you ask of an expert in cross-examination is not evidence. You can put whatever you want to a prosecution expert. They don't accept it. The judge will sum up to the jury the evidence of not accepting it, not the evidence of putting the question. And the defense did not call an expert. So as a result, all you were left with was the evidence of prosecution experts in relation to neonatology, pediatrics, and pathology. And so, yes, this is fresh evidence. This is new evidence. It's compelling evidence because of the nature of the people who are giving that evidence, and it wasn't heard by the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's okay. So Phoebe Davis from Tortoise Media. Dr. Lee, I'm just struck by you have personal involvement in the case because your evidence was used. As far as I'm aware, the other experts did not have any personal involvement in this case. I'm struck by them coming together, as you say, in a historic way. What impact of this case on the international community in this sector? And I'm curious as like why does this case matter? Why do you think it's taken up so much attention? I guess this is also for Dr. Moody. Why does this case matter so much to the profession?
To be honest, I'm not sure how much of this case gets around the world. This is UK news, and it may be on the headlines in the UK, but in Canada, I didn't hear very much about it. I saw a little column in the newspaper about that big, saying that a nurse had been convicted in the UK for 17 murders, and I thought how terrible this is, and that's all we hear. I think then what happened subsequently was that I was called by the defense for the appeal to say, can you look at this? And I don't usually do medical legal cases. I just don't enjoy them. In this particular case, because they used my paper, I was curious to see what exactly did they use my paper for. And when I saw the evidence that they gave, I was disturbed because it was wrong. And after I gave the appeal, I realized that she had no further road to go because she had exhausted all avenues of appeal. And yet, it remained that the evidence was wrong. Now, I didn't know at the time whether she was innocent or guilty. What I did know was that the evidence that was used to convict her was wrong. And to me, that's a problem. You shouldn't be using wrong evidence to convict someone, regardless of whether she's guilty or innocent. And so that was when I decided to have a further look at the evidence, because it wasn't just about the skin discoloration, which was asked at the appeal, but it was about many other things. And without looking at all the other evidence, I couldn't form any opinions. And that was when I approached the solicitors at the time to say, well, if you are willing and if Lucy is willing, I'd be willing to look at the rest of the evidence. And if I was concerned that the rest of evidence was also a problem, I would convene a panel. And so we did. And as you can see, these people on the panel are not ordinary people. They are not just ordinary neonatologists, that you get in the street anywhere. These are the best of the best. And the reason they came was because they were all interested in the truth. And these are people of high integrity, and they want to make sure that things are done right. And so they came, and Nina is one of those. Nina is, a good friend of mine for many years, and she's one of the most respected neonatologists in the world. And so are all the others, right? So they all came and they volunteered their time and services to be part of this and to look at what the evidence is, so that we can get some clarity on this, and that this can be hopefully resolved.
I'd like to ask two questions. The first is to Sir David Davis. At the moment, there is a public inquiry sitting. It's predicated on the assumption that Lucy Letby is guilty. From what we've heard today, which I may say is the most devastating presentation I have ever heard in a miscarriage of justice case, and I've covered many over several decades, this inquiry is entirely based on a false prospectus. And I wondered what you think, Sir David, should now happen to the Thirlwall inquiry. Should it simply be wound up pending the hearing the appeal? My second question is to Dr. Lee. It was in fact Sir David who in the House of Commons last month who disclosed that in 2 of the cases of which Lucy Letby was convicted of murder, the people who committed acts of what one might euphemistically describe as poor care, including puncturing the liver in the last case that you highlighted today, went on to become principal accusers of Lucy Letby. They were instrumental in helping the police with their investigation and then gave evidence against her. I wonder if you would like to comment on the fact that people who, from your analysis and your panel's analysis, themselves were large contributory factors in those deaths, went on to accuse her.
I'll take the first bit first. I mean, firstly, it's not part of my role to critique the Thirlwall inquiry. I'll just say the following 2 things. Number one of the failures we're looking at here, we're looking at a number of judicial failures, a miscarriage of justice, and a failure of the health service to mark its own homework, if you like, to decide what it got wrong and what it has to put right. And as a result of that, I wrote to Lady Thirlwall before the inquiry sat and suggested to her that she might get a more accurate outcome of her inquiry if she left at least an opening in her mind that Lucy may not be guilty and that there may be other causes for these deaths. It's the second part in the context of the sole inquiry that matters most. That if we can't fix the health service when it gets things wrong, there'll be future babies that die unnecessarily. So I wrote to her and I got an answer. It's a dead bad answer. It's what I'm used to getting from ministers mostly. So it's not for me to critique it, but I think when it comes down to it, the judicial system will, I hope, end up overruling what the Thole inquiry concludes. So you wanted to answer his point?
I don't think I can answer that question because that's something that you have to ask the people who are involved. I can't ascribe motives to people. It is possible that perhaps they don't even have insight into their own lack of expertise in these areas. And so I would recommend that they take a close look at the report that we have written and to see for themselves where they have deficiencies and
just because you don't have a credential, it doesn't mean to say that you cannot make a intelligent opinion on something. So because a person doesn't have credentials, see, even yesterday, what did I do? As you was talking, I went and I researched one or two of the what you call it, the symptoms or the what he was talking about, what the babies had. Because sometimes, right, sometimes you might hear these words being slung around and you don't know what the words is. And some people might be well read, you don't know. You can't say, oh, because you don't have credentials, that means that you haven't got an opinion. Hi, Ebony, I'm okay. Because you don't, because a person doesn't have, because like there is people, right, who don't go university and go certain places and they're more intelligent than the people that go university. And I'm not saying that people who go university is on intelligent. Some people can sit down and they know the law backwards and forwards and they haven't been to law school and they know the law. They know the law the back of their hand. They studied it. Something makes them go and look into the law and makes them go and look into certain things. So I feel you shouldn't say that. He should have not said that to the person who's asking him certain questions on the children's, the baby deaths, because they're basically saying, so does that mean that how the inquiry will be suspended because of your findings? Because if the inquiry is suspending of all your findings, because really, if I was them, I would have continued inquiring, because there might be something of her might come up. I don't think she is all innocent. I don't know. I don't think she is. I really don't think she is. And I'm going with my gut here. Right. I'm going with my gut. I don't think she is innocent. I feel this is all smoke screen. I mean, like you said that they use my neighbor is smart and it's scary and it's not. Yeah, exactly. He's talking about, because they're neurologists or neurosurgeons or whatever they are, and they studied for years and blah de blah de blah, that people are not intelligent enough to work out. I've seen people work out crimes on YouTube, right, and being on point. I mean, mind you, the only difference is that right, you can't say too much because it will take away from the case. So I feel they need to go and look a bit more into the inquiry. Needs to continue going on, because they might find something of Lucy Letsby Like, you know, I think they checked when she tapped in. Right, the babies was mostly on her live when she was on shift. So now my thinking is, since she's been in prison, have there been any deaths since she's been in prison? Because that's the question they need to ask. Like, you know what I mean? They just like, yeah, fair enough, right? The report was in depth. Yes, it was in depth, right? But one was mentioned, one reporter mentioned the puncture of something that was done that wasn't in his report. So, you know, yeah, so maybe if they look into it a bit more deeper, they might find something. Because with everything, there's an investigation in everything. There's an investigation in everything. With a bad teacher, with a accident. I can't think, but there's a lot of investigation. Some things needs to be looked in very much more deeper than some. There's having, and on top of that, he said, "Oh yeah, because like she's my friend." So also, Ebony's right. It's bias at this end of the day. So because she is a colleague and the woman it was a nurse, that we should also okay, she's innocent. My gut feeling tell me different. From yesterday, my gut from when I first came across this case, right, it's like when she got picked up, and then you start looking into it, and it's like it's too obvious what is that she did what she did, but now they're saying she's innocent. Okay, she's innocent. Okay.
And what they need to do about it.
Okay.
There's,
Yes. Well, no, here. Sorry. You can't just grab the microphone.
Thanks, Felicity Lawrence, formerly for The Guardian and freelance still for The Guardian. There were many experts who were really troubled by this after the convictions, and then there was more charges of the press were silenced for over a year. Where could you have gone, Professor Modi, with your duty of candour? Where could
And they silenced the press. You see what I'm saying? So this conference is bringing out a lot of stuff what was happening behind the scenes. They silenced the press as well. I mean, because I feel the journalists probably would have dig and been on their butts and it tips out sometime. Can you hear me? Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Yeah, it does that. That's why I have to always edit it when I finished. I mean, you highlight all your things. So if I edit it, that I don't lose too much of because I lose the chat. I wanted to do it on the other one because I don't lose the chat as much. So yeah, it's very biased. Like, I mean, now they're saying that they silenced the press. They silenced the press because I feel that with all cases, and we know this from the little girl that's missing right now, right? Right. When the press brings certain things out, right, the detectives works it out. It's the online detectives that seems to get a lot of things done. They go and they dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig till they find out the answer. Right. And then like if they feel that they got to take it to another person, a police or whoever they got to do, they take it. So to me, it's like a gentleman's club, basically. I mean, it's a gentleman's club what's going on here. Oh, she's one of us. We got to cover her because she's a nurse. She's an NHS nurse. Oh, she right, you know, like we got to keep appealing to show that she's innocent. I think I'm gonna do it on the next one next time I do stuff like this because I want to keep the chat.
other people have gone when the court and the legal system treats your concerns as contempt. There doesn't seem to be any way of raising the alarm at the right moment. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I hope that the process that we've seen unfolding, of which today is a major part, has actually demonstrated that there is a route to be followed. There is a process to be followed in these sorts of circumstances. I, like many of my colleagues, followed the trial as it was written up in the newspapers and did not know any more than that until several journalists sent me more detailed information about the cases, and what each of these pieces of extra information that I read raised my concerns even more. When I was instructed by Mr. MacDonald and his solicitors that I read the full papers, and my anxieties were hugely amplified, I have to say. So it's been an
See, even they learnt more about the case through the newspapers. So it shows that, okay, even though the newspapers are not the best resources, no, they're not. They're not. But what the journalist did now, right? Because she didn't know about the case, she's probably was so busy sometimes she doesn't get a chance to watch the news or whatever the case may be. There's people like her out here who's like her, like this, right? And then so the journalist sends her information regarding the Lucy Letsby's case, and she said that how she is affected by it, and this is why she's sitting on the conference table right now. So that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. So when you silence the journalist, no matter what form it is, whether it be digital, paper, whatever, right? And like, so by them, I mean, even though some journalists do get it wrong, yes, they do, right? What happens is, right? What happens is it makes you want to put things right because you want to make sure that how the children gets the justice and the family gets the justice what's due to them. Because like you might find something within what is being said on certain things that might make you question a little more what is going on, why and the why and the why, right? Because the paper, the newspaper, because since Lucy Letsby's been let off, there's like the Countess of Chester has been going through problems anyway. I mean, like I don't think they're losing children, but they'll be going through problems as well. So, but I feel yes, the NHS is going through there's a lot of costs going up and stuff going up over here, and a lot of things is changing over here regarding to the medical privatizations of stuff. Certain things is happening over here, right? And basically a lot of women, what a lot of women was doing, they was doing home births. They was doing home births. They have their babies at home. They have their babies at home, and they was getting prenatal or whatever after the baby. They was getting the looked after. The baby and the mum was getting looked after at home. So this, like I said, this is not making any woman want to go into the hospitals any quicker or may want them to have their babies. I think the majority might even start returning to having children at home, because now it just shows how you can't be safe, because like the gentleman's club will always be on the side of the person who has done an injustice. There's truly a battle between good and evil. They must investigate and reveal the facts. Yes, the actual facts. The actual facts. Because though Dr. Lee gave a great medical download on what was wrong with the children, but then he didn't give the one with the punctured, I think it was a punctured lung or something, because one of the journalists calls it out. So she on a live 15 babies, right? And then I think he spoke about, like yesterday, it seemed like 2 hours live, listening to each individual element of the babies. Right? The embolisms kept coming up a lot. Discoloration of the skin kept coming up a lot. And I know one of my subs is from the NICU. She's around babies or mothers, right? And she like, that's why I believe that how there was something that was done to the children as well, because she also had keepsake. She does, like, when somebody unalive, when they're unalive, they have stuff of the victims on them, and it was in her room. So I think that a person like that should not be moved to any type of facility where vulnerable people is. There'll be a baby or an elder, because who knows, right? Like, it could be even more worse next time. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try forward this a little bit, because last time I was here like 2 hours yesterday.
Zero estimated perhaps 1,000 babies dying in the UK every year. We wouldn't die had we had the same standards of neonatal and maternity care as Sweden. I'd like to ask Dr. Lee, did any of the international experts look at this and go, gosh, this could easily happen in my country? Or did they say, God, what an appalling system the NHS has. This is the tip of the iceberg. Thousands of babies must be dying avoidably from substandard care.
We only looked at 17 cases, so I cannot speak about the NHS really.
Could it happen in China? Sorry, could it happen in Canada? Could it happen in China too? Could it happen in Canada?
We hope not, because
Why not?
Yeah, I would say that if this hospital, we also have a level 1, 2, 3 standard in our hospital, similar to the UK. We are, after all, a British colony previously, and a lot of our systems, were built on the British standards. I would say that if this was a hospital in Canada, it would be shut down. It wouldn't be happening.
That 25 years.
See, he said if this was Canada, it will be shut down. She would have been dismissed. She probably would have been charged. She would be in jail right now. So, yeah.
Years ago, after the Shipman report, there was very briefly, because I was involved in it, an attempt to encourage a no-fault analysis of health service failures on the same basis that airline pilots and airlines are reviewed after a failure, after a crash, after a near crash, whatever. It sort of precipitated enthusiasm for about 6 months and disappeared. The health service didn't want to play. I think there's an argument for that right now. Yes, sir.
Peter Hitchens, Mail on Sunday. Have you sent, or do you propose to send copies of this report to Dr. Dowie Evans, to the Thirlwall inquiry, and to the Chief Constable of Cheshire Police, who still apparently intend to continue interrogating Ms. Letby?
The owner of the report.
Well, this is a summary of the report. The full report is going to be coming at the end of the month. And the privilege, as in the legal privilege, is that of Lucy Letby. And if she gives consent, I've already suggested that this is a report that the families may want to see as well, which I think should be on the top of the list.
So does that mean that Howard, you lot are, what's the word I'm looking for? Diverting justice. Huh? Is that what you lot are doing? You could tell me if I'm wrong, my feelings here, right? Right. He asked him, right, is it going to be sent to the police or is it going to be sent to the thingy? Yeah, you go and rest. It's okay. It's all right. I have to make plans. She lives 850 miles. away from me. Defense lawyers are hard to listen to. Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'm going to be listening to him. I'm going to have an open mind. But so he's going to send the report to the parents. He's going to send the report to the defense lawyer to say that how she didn't do anything. Now, isn't that going to take away what is being done? Because, like I said, there's one baby that he probably that like I said, the journalist brought to his attention that he didn't talk about the one with the punctured lung. I think he said, either punctured lung or something. So, yes, you have a good night, Ebony. So, are they diverting justice?
You know, it's not my job to send it to the prosecution experts. One hopes that giving it to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, they might disseminate it to those that gave evidence before the jury. I personally, to answer your question, won't be in contact with Dr. Dowie Evans to give him a report.
Right. Here, and then we'll come back over here. Yeah.
Paul Brandeis, we need a bit of gumption and talk about this publicly. And I wonder what kind of weight there has been on all of you, actually. The CCRC say in its statement today that those speculating about the case only have a partial view of the evidence. How sure are you that you're on the side here of an innocent woman and not a serial killer?
Before I let the others answer, this first came to my attention because of a New Yorker report, 13,000 word report, a very thorough one, which was suppressed by court order when the second trial was going on. So I raised that matter. The result of that was I had the most authoritative group of people I've ever had in my life communicate with me there. Past presidents for Royal Statistical Society, past presidents for Royal College, a whole series of professors, forensic experts, people who knew what they were looking at. And each of them said to me the same thing, or similar things. They said, my bit of this is wrong. The bit I understand, the statistician said, I can't speak for the medical evidence, but the statistics is rubbish. It's misleading. The medics said we can't talk to the stats, but the medicine.
How to handle difficult people at work. How to get that promotion you know you deserve.
And so that was the first thing. But that told me it was a mistrial, not it was a miscarriage of justice. So I spent the next 3 months immediately after the election, this bracketed the election. Immediately after the election, I spent the summer. I wanted to get the transcript, but I was told that would cost £100,000. So, and I didn't have £100,000 to hand. So I went through the daily reports every single day of the trial, right, to see if there was a clear-cut single charge against Lucy Letby. Because if she was guilty of one of them, I didn't want to know. I was interested if it was a miscarriage, not if it's simply a mistrial. I'm not interested in judicial gains. And I got to the end of it, and none of it showed clear proof of anything. None of it showed actually that a murder had occurred, let alone that she was witnessed carrying out any improper act. And so at the end of that, with the greatest of respect to some of the people criticizing this, I think I've spent more time on it than they have, right? And those who say, well, you weren't there, I've been through every single day. And now I do have 3/4 of the transcript, and we've been through that too. So I'm afraid I've probably looked at it more than the appeal court judges in terms of time and commitment. And I'm a scientist and mathematician by training, and that's what matters in this, not the law, frankly. So that's my answer to that. Anybody else want to answer? No?
Apparently, as independent members of the bar, we're not allowed to say that our client is innocent. But can I say this, that there is overwhelming evidence that the conviction is unsafe. And if Dr. Xu Li and the panel are correct, no crime was committed. And if no crime was committed, that means that a 34-year-old woman is currently sitting in prison for the rest of her life for a crime that just never happened.
Sorry, over here. Yes, sir. And then you.
Thank you, Sir David. Edward Abel-Smith, co-host of Was There Ever a Crime? The Trials of Lucy Letby. My question is with regard to the CCRC, the Criminal Cases Review Commission. If we look at cases such as Andy Malkinson, who has his conviction overturned, or Robin Garbett, who's awaiting his outcome from the CCRC, these things can take 5-10 years to get to the appeal court. Is there anything you can do, or is there anything you're going to do to try and ensure that Lucy Letby isn't still waiting for her time in front of a retrial for another 10 years, say?
I've been working with the Criminal Cases Review Commission for over, I think, 20 years. And some cases I've had in the CCRC for over 7 years, waiting for them to make a decision. Currently got one that's 8 years, I think. But what I do know is that the CCRC are taking this very seriously. They've already got a team in place. They're ready to go. And I hope that having, because they've watched this conference, I've made sure they've had a link to this. They've watched the presentation. They've got this report. They're going to get the final report. That they've seen what you've all seen. I'm hoping they're going to take this very seriously and deal with it very quickly, and we will be back in the Court of Appeal very soon.
So,
Joshua Rosenberg, a lawyer rights on Substack. Question for Mark MacDonald. You said, you drew attention to the fact that the defense didn't call any expert witnesses. Now, you're not going to say anything critical or otherwise about the previous defense team. But that's a mystery in this case. Am I right in thinking that this is all a question of professional privilege and that your client could allow them to speak?
Hi, Alexander. And that's exactly what I just said. That's exactly what I just said. Like, so basically he's saying now, you see that now, right? His question is really good because I think there was forensics carried out, there was different things carried out, but it seems like they didn't put those professionals to talk at her case. So that's why people is a bit like, what the hell? Like, are you trying to get a convicted unaliver of being to serving her time, right? Like, you know, is it to do the gentleman's club? But once again, is it coming down back to the gentleman's club, privileges, all that extra stuff? I gotta go make a tea. My belly's doing crazy.
That she could tell you how it was that her advisors didn't call the expert evidence that you clearly think they should have called previously?
You're absolutely right, but that doesn't answer the bigger problem that we face. The bigger problem that we face is what Sir David Davis has already identified, is the Court of Appeal test for adducing fresh evidence. That threshold is quite high, and one of the rules against admitting that evidence is whether or not that evidence could have been available at the trial. And so that means that even though a conviction is unsafe because we've got overwhelming evidence here, the court has a discretion to deny all this evidence to go before it because Dr. Shuley could have been called at the trial and wasn't, and wasn't contacted. You already heard that Dr. Modi was actually herself contacted the defense team at the trial and wasn't used or wasn't asked or certainly wasn't engaged with. Look, my job is not to dissect the decision making of the trial defense team. Lucy Letby was represented by an experienced King's Counsel, had excellent solicitors. I have to start in September, as I did when I was instructed, with a clean slate and say what went wrong here, having identified that, found out what I can do in relation to identifying those experts that can deal with those issues. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Shuley and the panel for coming forward and providing what they have done today. It is now up to someone else to decide whether or not they want to deny that evidence, refuse to accept that evidence, and not allow it to make the conviction unsafe, or hear it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to one of the things on the Countess of Chester. And then we're going to, the parents is not happy about this anyway, right? Because you know, they were greatly unhappy with the situation to which the babies have been taken out of this world. So, hold on, I'm going to play this. Or I'll play the response of the parents.
Support the Guardian. Illustration: as the Thirlwall hearings approach, the Guardian. Support the Guardian. Illustration: Guardian design / Crown copyright / BA / AFP / Getty. A superbug, doctor shortages, and a neonatal unit out of its depth. Failures at Lucy Letby Hospital revealed. As the Thirlwall hearings approach, the Guardian has discovered concerns were repeatedly raised about alarming shortcomings at Countess of Chester. At Liverpool Town Hall on Tuesday, a public inquiry will begin into the tragic deaths and collapses of babies 8 years ago at the Countess of Chester, Cock, hospital, for which the former neonatal nurse Lucy Letby has been found guilty of murder and attempted murder. One of the inquiry's principal aims is to give the babies' bereaved families a sense that lessons will be learned. Led by the Senior Court of Appeal Judge Lady Justice Thirlwall, it will consider the experiences of the parents of Letby's victims, examine whether management at the hospital was too slow to identify a serial killer, and whether Letby should have been suspended earlier and the police called in sooner. Letby has been convicted across 2 trials of murdering 7 babies and trying to kill 7 others. Her attempts to appeal have been rejected. Yet in recent months mounting concerns have been raised by senior professionals about the evidence used to convict her. Letby has now instructed a new legal team, with the barrister Mark MacDonald being asked to apply to the Criminal Cases Review Commission to have her murder convictions returned to the Court of Appeal for a fresh hearing. The fact is, juries can get it wrong, and we know from previous cases that the Court of Appeal can too, MacDonald said. Others, including many of those expected to give evidence at the inquiry, have faith that justice has been served in the Letby case. The inquiry will begin its hearings in this highly unusual context, its very premise, that a murderer was at work, being the subject of dispute. Last month The Guardian revealed that 24 senior experts had written to the government urging it to either pause the inquiry or expand its remit. The letter said the narrow terms of reference could lead to a failure in understanding and examining alternative, potentially complex causes for the deaths. At the heart of the inquiry are the families whose children died or have been left with disabilities. Solicitors acting for some of the parents have said that the questioning of Letby's convictions was distressing for them and that the inquiry was vitally important. Aside from any debate over the safety of Letby's convictions, the inquiry is likely to unearth a series of reports outlining many failings in the unit that could have plausibly caused the deaths of babies. The Guardian has seen the findings of these reports, which paint a troubling picture of the state of neonatal services at the hospital when the babies died. It is an assessment backed up by sources familiar with the hospital, and other leaked documents and emails. Our investigation reveals a hospital unit operating beyond its skills and capacity, one that was understaffed and suffering from low morale, lacking the expertise to deal with babies with serious needs, and operating from a tired building struggling with a superbug and with sewage backing up into its rooms. Concerns raised after deaths. The Cock is a local district hospital on the outskirts of Chester, in northwest England. In 2015, when the hospital started to experience a rise in the number of deaths of premature babies, its neonatal facility was classed as a level 2 local unit. This meant it could care for newborns with medical needs from 27 weeks. Bigger hospitals in the area dealt with babies more premature than this, or ones with complex problems. In the previous year the unit had experienced 4 deaths, but between June 2015 and July 2016 there was an unusually high number of mortalities, at least 13 babies died. The pediatric team of doctors and consultants grew increasingly worried. Suspicions about Letby were raised with management after her presence when many of the babies died or collapsed was noticed. She was suspended from nursing duties following 2 further deaths at the end of June 2016. 2 years later, after a lengthy police investigation, she was arrested and eventually charged in November 2020. But during the period of the cluster of deaths, there were staff at the hospital, including managers and members of the nursing team, who rejected the suggestion that Letby was responsible, and raised possible alternative causes for the increase in deaths, including medical explanations. Top managers took action and various reviews, both internal and external, were conducted, including a report by the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, RCPCH. The Guardian has seen the conclusions of 2 other reports, the first produced by a nursing manager, the second a review by an independent neonatologist into 17 deaths and collapses. Neither found foul play, but they did highlight serious concerns about the state of care at the hospital. Understaffed and underskilled, staff record difficulties. In March 2015, a few months before the cluster of deaths, the nurse manager of the neonatal unit, Arian Powell, recorded one of several entries on the hospital's internal register of risks to patient safety on her ward, saying, "We are currently understaffed and underskilled." This register is a dynamic, regularly updated tool to alert managers to serious problems needing their attention. A further entry in late October 2015 recorded a specific troubling evening, 4 nights after another baby had died. There had been no senior doctor present overnight, Powell wrote, only a middle-grade doctor and a junior doctor still in training. Between them they were trying to cover 5 separate areas where babies and children might get into difficulty: the pediatric ward, the neonatal unit, the labor ward, casualty, and the ante- and postnatal ward. The middle-grade doctor had become waylaid in casualty with a very seriously ill child, leaving the junior to cope with the rest. The shortage of doctors was a problem raised by others. One of the consultant doctors wrote to the chief executive, Tony Chambers, in December 2015 complaining that staff on the unit were chronically overworked and stretched thinner and thinner. The pressure of the shortage appears to have been taking a serious toll on morale. The consultant said, "Over the past few weeks I have seen several medical and nursing colleagues in tears. They get upset as they know that the care they are providing falls below their high standards. When things snap, the casualties will either be children's lives or the mental and physical health of our staff." Nearly a year later, and after Letby had been removed from the ward, the RCPCH report said circumstances were not very different from those on many units but highlighted the shortage of senior doctors, given the acute medical needs of the babies admitted. At the time there were 7 consultant pediatricians, 1 with a special interest in newborns, but no consultant neonatologist. They had to double up on the pediatric and neonatal wards. They were overstretched, awaiting the appointment of 2 further consultants, and there should have been a greater level of consultant presence on the ward, especially at peak times, the report said. A unit out of its depth? A leading, practicing UK neonatologist, who has looked post-trial at each of the deaths in the Letby case, reviewing medical details given by the prosecution in court, told The Guardian, "The overall impression is that of a neonatal unit that was out of its depth, slow to recognize problems and inexperienced in dealing with them. This is not a criticism, they were a level 2 unit that found itself having to provide level 3 care for the most critically ill and very premature babies." She stressed that she had not had access to full medical notes of the babies in the trials and asked to remain anonymous, feeling that alternative viewpoints about Letby's conviction there were delays in raising babies were in difficulty, poor recognition and management of serious medical episodes known to affect premature babies, delays in instituting treatment, repeated occurrence of failed intubations, the difficult and delicate insertion of breathing tubes into tiny babies, she said. These factors cause further deterioration of already compromised infants and increase the likelihood of death. Dr. Jane Houghton, a consultant neonatologist at the Royal Free Hospital in London, was asked by the COC to review 17 cases in which babies had collapsed or died in more detail and individually. The conclusions of her report, seen by The Guardian, were that the deaths or collapses of 13 babies could be explained. Neonatologist who was on foul play.
So then they look at the ones that she looked after, the babies that she was put to deal with, like, so they dealt with like 17 babies. Some of them might have been victims, some of them might have been victims, and some of them might have been babies that was there. Now, like I said, it is the hospitals are under a lot of pressure over here. They are under a lot of pressure over here. The lot of pressure. Not too long ago, they were striking to get higher pay. Now, I'm not surprised of what they said about the hospital with the sewage and whatever else is going on, right? But then, like, I'm hoping how Dr. Lee did look at the ones that Lucy Letsby had to look after, right? Because it's very unprofessional to handle Charles whatever needed for the elements, like, because they would do it wrong. That is encouraged. That alone, the safeguard is not regarded, right? You have to be overseen by everything. Even when you're in a care home, I should think it's the same thing. The reason why I use care home, because like I got carers training, so I'm using that as an example, right? Sometimes, right, you have to go for extra training. Sometimes you have to whistleblow. Those are the policies that are written underneath care homes, spaces where there are people that need care. So if you leave a junior, somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, there's bound to be a level of death happening. Like, it's just like having a surgeon who doesn't know what he's doing, and he's cutting into your body and he's got no idea of what he's doing. Now, like, I believe this is not the only hospital that is under scrutiny. I think it's under highlight more because of Lucy Letsby used to work there. That's why I think it's under scrutiny a little more. But I feel there are other hospitals that are like this, and like I still think that how like the children that is under her that she had to go and look after, because I'm sure they are given like a certain amount of children that they have to take care of. To me, right, if you love your job, you do your job good. If you love your job, you do your job to the best of your abilities, right? That's how I feel. Because me, if I don't enjoy something, I don't do it good. right? I don't enjoy it, right? I would rather not do it. I would. Some people I know, because of the economy, some people are stuck in jobs that they don't want to be in, right? And it could be the same problem with this young lady as well. But the fact of the matter is that how, um, because I know that they get checks on a regular. That is one of the things that go through. They do it with schools. They do it with places, and I'm not just speculating. This is fact, because like they have to go under a certain guideline, a certain code. They have to have everything up to scratch. Otherwise, the places will get shut down, or the patients get moved somewhere. It's like that with homes as well. It's like that with mental homes, right? If certain things are not advocated or given, especially if like the people feel that how they are working, and I'm sure this has happened, and I'm sure the doctors and that and nurses and that are calling out for help, but the people that the powers that be is not giving them what they need to do so that they can make sure that these children come out and be put in the parents' hands. So it sounds like not only under Lucy Lettsby's watch there was children passing, there was children passing for all other reasons. So that's the reason why I'm playing this as well, because I'm trying to open up my mind a little more, because I want to actually not say, well, I don't want to just point the finger at her. I have to point out the finger at the NHS as well, right? And I know they are under a lot of pressure. And it goes without saying that how when you have to look after people who is dependent on you, right, you have to make sure you do the job good. Some people don't, like I said, some people don't enjoy working in their jobs that they are advocating, but they're there and they have to get through it. And and at one point during the pandemic, there was people coming out and clapping for them during that time, right, as well. So it's a shame that how right they have to go through this, but they are more highlighted because of Let's Be. I hope he hasn't moved from the spot.
Recommend consultants out of hours attendance, and making sure junior doctors and nurses felt empowered to call on them. She advised better training for doctors in giving antibiotics promptly,
anyway.
and help from Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool, with special packs for doctors to cope with getting breathing tubes in when it proved difficult. Problems with the level of care in the unit came up in Letby's retrial and conviction of the attempted murder of baby K. An experienced consultant neonatologist at Arrow Park Tertiary Hospital said that by the time the baby involved had been transferred to their more specialist care, her death had become unavoidable, in part because of suboptimal care by doctors at the Countess of Chester. Staff calmer and more confident after unit downgrade. In July 2016, about the time the RCPCH was asked to conduct its review, management at the COC downgraded its neonatal unit to a level 1 special care unit. This limited the premature babies that it took into its care to those born at 32 weeks gestation or over, an age where the medical complications and risks were much lower. The RCPCH team found a unit more suited to that level, stating that staff reported feeling calmer and more confident and morale/sickness has improved. The consultants also reported that in the 2 months since the change, infants have been sick but recovered as expected. Letby had been removed from the unit, coinciding with the downgrading to a lower level. The number of deaths fell thereafter. Less experienced nurses replaced senior staff. Another major concern at the time, both at the COC and nationally, was the shortage of nurses. The neonatal unit was operating with the number of nurses a fifth lower than required by national standards. It should have had 1 nurse to each baby in its intensive care room, a ratio that was frequently breached. The Care Quality Commission specifically highlighted in its June 2016 report into the hospital that the level of neonatal nurse staffing was a concern, While the RCPCH recommended the hospital recruit 2 top-grade neonatal nurses, apparently unaware that the unit had previously had these. Michelle Worden, who had been an advanced neonatal nurse practitioner, ANNP, at the COC before being made redundant in 2007, had publicly warned in letters sent at the time to newspapers that in her view the removal of nurses at her level was creating risk. The most senior nurses were gradually replaced over the following years with less experienced ones and cheaper nursery nurses who did not have a registered nursing qualification. When you had ANNPs and senior nursing sisters with decades of clinical experience, the fact the consultants weren't there enough didn't matter so much. We recognized problems, we'd seen them before. But it became an accident waiting to happen, Worden told The Guardian. Lack of beds and resources to relocate babies. This litany of challenges was compounded by the temporary closure of an intensive neonatal care unit in a hospital in North Wales, which created more demand on the COC unit in 2015 and 2016. The hospital was also dealing with several multiple births. Many of the babies it found itself caring for should not have been at the Chester Hospital. The NHS reorganized the care of newborns in the early 2000s. The theory was that very premature, low-weight babies did better in specialist hospitals that would be regional centers of excellence, so resources should be concentrated on those. Alderhay was one such regional tertiary center. But at the time intensive care cots in Liverpool were often not available, nor were the highly specialized regional transport teams, often a consultant doctor and a senior nurse needed in an ambulance for hours, to move ill babies across Merseyside. Powell, the nurse manager, had recorded a lack of available transport as a high risk to babies on the hospital register in March 2016, highlighted in red under the register's traffic light system. A couple of months later Powell sent a neonatal unit review assurance document to other managers. The document, seen by The Guardian, seemed to be a response to the suspicions raised by some of the doctors about Letby. The Cheshire and Mersey Transport Service have been involved in a few of these mortalities and they may have survived if the service was running adequately, the document said. It added that the shortage of intensive care cots at Alderhay had contributed to the mortalities. In at least one case, it said, if there had been a bed sooner, the infant may not have died. Contaminated taps and sewage at aging hospital. On a more basic level the hospital was old and struggling to maintain hygiene standards. Powell highlighted other red alert risks to patient safety on the neonatal unit. For months, the unit had struggled to eradicate the contamination of its taps with a potentially lethal, antibiotic-resistant bug, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. The problem went back to at least May 2015 and was still unresolved in early summer 2016. The superbug did not show up in blood tests on the babies, but its presence was another risk the already under-resourced hospital was struggling to deal with.
Virus in the hospital.
It also served as a signal of how far standards had deteriorated. Sewage had backed up repeatedly into the unit from the drains, a problem that had been continuing for years. Worden recalled a unit falling to pieces, ceiling tiles dropping off. We regularly had sewage coming up in sinks.
Ew.
Any source of infection on a neonatal unit should be the highest priority because it can kill. The RCPCH report provided a dispiriting description of the unit's physical environment, a tired, cramped, inadequately lit, underfunded facility that had been built in 1971. Hopes for the Thirlwall inquiry. Contacted by The Guardian for a response, the hospital said it could not comment while the inquiry, and police investigations, were continuing, as did the RCPCH and Alderhay. Powell did not respond to questions. Many of the hospital managers familiar with the challenges facing the neonatal unit will in the coming weeks be called to give evidence, as will the Royal College. Expected to last many months and cost millions, the inquiry has already racked up costs of about £3 million, mainly in legal fees, on preliminary work. A growing number of voices believe it is vital for the inquiry to openly consider whether there could be causes other than murder for the deaths of babies in the care of the hospital. Jane Hutton, a professor of medical statistics at Warwick University, and one of the signatories of the letter sent to the government about the inquiry, said, "You have to look at all the deaths and collapses.
Yeah,
How
that's
premature
true.
were the babies? What
Mhm.
birth weight were they?
Yeah.
If there are more twins or triplets who shared a placenta, you can't be surprised they became ill at the same time. They are much higher risk." Consultants were absent, junior doctors were reluctant to ask for help, there was sewage. All the potential alternative explanations need to be considered. Last month, the Conservative MP David Davis added his voice to such concerns, writing separately to Thirlwall urging her to broaden the terms. The inquiry, he wrote, should be broad enough to consider alternative explanations and evidence, and address the concerns now being raised.
And that's why I said that how they should continue investigating the hospital, not only the hospital, but investigating when letsby was on shift or whatever. They need to look into all of it. I just don't think that how it should be just one-sided. See, now that's giving me a more outlook of how Chestershire, Duchess of Chestershire was run, because like the training, like you can't have young doctors, young nurses, or whoever, nurses, without training. Sometimes like you need a little more training. I know if I can't do something, I'm on a job and I can't do something, I would have to ask for training. That's one of the policies, and I'm sure there are many of the other policies that is given when you start to do your doctorate or whatever else. You know what I mean? I'm just speculating. Don't thingy for me for that. I'm just thinking because that's one of the things that when you are dealing with old people, right? If there's something that you cannot do, that you cannot move the hoist, you cannot swiggle the patient, you cannot clean the patient, you cannot change the bag on the patient. You have to go through training so that you can improve, so that you can do a better job at it. You know what I'm saying? And those some people might just do the job, do it halfway, do it quick. Sometimes you have to do it properly. That's what I believe of everything. Because I know that when I was doing my massage thing, my massage business, right, sometimes you have to always be constantly be in training so you can improve your technique, so that you know that how the person that is lying on the bed, that they are getting the right amount of pressure put on them, the right amount of lubrication on them, you know what I mean? Because even with massage, even that is surgical, because you touch somebody the wrong way, it can hurt them, right? So it goes with most cases, anything that is dealing with people, bodies, either giving or not giving, intimately, not intimately, you have to know what you're doing, because like you will be there for cause and effect. And this is what's happened, is cause and effect. Now, you notice that how also in the article, they say that how since she had left, right, some of the deaths did actually go down. Now, it's down to the condition of the place. And we know that how condition has a lot to do with health as well. If there's too much mold in a house, you get ill. Asbestos, which I learned about the other day, they have to come in and check asbestos, especially if it's running from bathrooms and certain stuff. All that has to be checked. They have to do a thorough clean of the areas where patients are going to be. That means your cleaner's got to be good at what they do. You cannot even, normally, right, they would remodel or fix up a hospital. But like I said, it's down to what's going on with the government as well. Has a whole lot to do with it as well, right? So, like, yeah, that's why I put that one on. But what I'm gonna also do now, so I'm also gonna do. I hope it plays, because we want to get a response of the parents about all this as well. It's important. Let me see if I can get a response of the parents. See if it's going to play.
Her wicked sense of entitlement and abuse of her role as a trusted nurse is truly a scandal. After today, I hope to be free of this limbo state I have been stuck in. The heavy load constantly on my mind has deeply changed me. Those lives were not yours to take, and although I am torn with sadness, anger, and unanswered questions, I cannot forgive you. There is no forgiving, not now, not ever. I feel not only I lost child D, but lost all those years of my life too. Since child D passed away, I lived beside my own shadow. I have had multiple therapies, panic attacks, dark thoughts, plus many struggles to overcome.
The first year after Child I's death was a blur. I don't even know how we got through it. I struggled to be out in public, to eat and sleep. I would relive all these collapses, and the emotions were like they were at that moment happening again. I don't think we will ever get over the fact that our daughter was tortured till she had no fight left in her, and everything she went through over her short life was deliberately done by someone who was supposed to protect her and help her come home where she belonged.
You tried to take everything away from us. You thought it was your right to play God with our children's lives. You thought you could enter our lives and turn it upside down, but you will never win. We hope you live a very long life and spend every single day suffering for what you have done.
I felt like I'd been stabbed in the heart. No words could describe how I was feeling. I kept wishing it had happened to me, and at that time would have gladly taken his place. I live in constant fear of something happening to any of my children. Lucy Letby has destroyed our lives. The anger and the hatred I have towards her will never go away. It has destroyed me as a man and as a father.
Lucy bathed him, an action I deeply regret, and dressed him in a woolen gown. He was buried in that gown, a gift from the unit chosen by Lucy. I feel sickened by the choice we made.
His hand and footprint were made into a pendant. I wore it round my neck. It made me feel closer to him. On the 3rd of July 2018, when Lucy Letby was first arrested, these few tangible memories I had of my son felt tainted. She took those hand and footprints. I felt so conflicted as to what that meant, so I stopped wearing them. There is no sentence that will ever compare to the excruciating agony we have suffered as a consequence of your murder of our son. But at least now there is no debate that, in your own words, you killed them on purpose. You are evil. You did this.
No, that's the parents of the victims talking. And I assure you, she ain't feeling nothing, you know. Let me see what else it says as well. Let me see if there's anything else.
The victims of Lucy Letby, and full statements from their parents. The infant victims of Lucy Letby's horrific crimes all have names, but they've been kept private during the lengthy trial against the former nurse, now the UK's most prolific child serial killer of modern times. They are all sons, daughters, siblings, and grandchildren. The families of the babies murdered by the neonatal nurse gave powerful statements before she was handed a whole life order. The families of the babies murdered by the neonatal nurse gave powerful statements before she was handed a whole life order. Over 9 months, Manchester Crown Court heard evidence of Lucy Letby's attacks on her victims, who were too small to defend themselves, set out in harrowing detail. Though their real names were used in court, all 17 babies involved in the case against Letby were granted anonymity through a strict reporting restriction, with an order also extending to their parents to protect their identity. The lifelong order, imposed by a judge, means journalists can only refer to the babies as children A to Q, but some details, such as when they died, or whether they were a twin or triplet, could be reported. Before a judge handed down a whole life order to Letby, which will likely see her die in jail, victim impact statements of the parents of the newborns attacked by the killer nurse were read out in an emotionally charged session. These are all of Letby's victims, what happened to them, and what parents said today, with some details removed to protect their identity.
Okay, let me see. What else is there?
Letby victims already have the truth, says mother. The mother of a victim of Lucy Letby said claims of new evidence in her case were disrespectful. The mother of one of Lucy Letby's victims has said families already have the truth about what happened to their children. The parent, who cannot be identified for legal reasons, said the claim by a panel of international medical experts that Letby had not murdered any babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital was a publicity stunt. Panel chairman Dr. Shuley said they had new evidence about her case which was not meant to cause distress but give families comfort and assurance in knowing the truth about what really happened. But the mother of a baby boy, who Letby was convicted of attempting to murder, told the Daily Mail. External. Every aspect of what they are doing is so disrespectful, it is very upsetting. She added, they said the parents want to know the truth, but we've had the truth. We believe in the British justice system, we believe the jury made the right decision. We already have the truth and this panel of so-called experts don't speak for us. Letby, 35, is serving 15 whole life orders after she was convicted of murdering 7 infants and attempting to murder 7 others between June 2015 and June 2016. She lost 2 bids last year to challenge her convictions at the Court of Appeal. Dr. Lee, a Canadian neonatal care expert, said there were alternative explanations for each of Letby's convictions. The panel told a press conference on Tuesday they had found that deaths or injuries of the babies said to have been harmed by Letby were due either to bad medical care or natural causes. Dr. Lee, who co-authored a 1989 academic paper on air embolism in babies which featured prominently at Letby's first 10-month trial, went on to tell reporters that his team's work was not meant to cause more distress to the affected families. He said, "We know that they want to know the truth and that is why we are here to tell the truth." But the mother said it was misleading to suggest new evidence had been uncovered when such themes had already been examined at length before jurors. Valid explanation. Letby's barrister Mark MacDonald denied at the conference he was merely submitting a rehash of the original defense case. Mr. MacDonald said, "The defense did not call an expert. So as a result all you were left with was the evidence of prosecution experts in relation to neonatology, pediatrics and pathology. So yes, this is fresh evidence, this is new evidence. It's compelling evidence because of the nature of the people who are giving that evidence and it wasn't heard by the jury." He also dismissed lesser circumstantial non-medical evidence presented at Letby's trial such as her handwritten note which stated, "I am evil, I did this," her hoarding of mementos of her crimes, and her Facebook searches of parents of her victims. Mr. MacDonald said there was a valid explanation for each of them, as he asserted Letby was convicted solely on the medical evidence which he said had now been demolished. Mr. MacDonald hopes the medical evidence uncovered by the expert panel, working pro bono, will lead to Letby's case being sent back to the Court of Appeal. The Criminal Cases Review Commission, CCRC, which investigates potential miscarriages of justice, has started to assess her case, which is said to involve a significant volume of complicated evidence. The independent body said it was not possible at present to determine how long it will take to review the application from Letby's legal team. Get in touch. Tell us which stories we should cover on Merseyside. Listen to the best of BBC Radio Merseyside on BBC Sounds and follow BBC Merseyside.
Now I knew that this was going to affect the parents, you know. That's what I said yesterday. I knew it was going to affect them. And like I said, she did have momentum of the children that she unalived. So let me see. I'm going to go back to one of my old videos as well while I'm here, because I have to go and do something, you see. Otherwise, I would really look into certain things, but let me see. She kept certain things of the children, so that's why I'm thinking it's not all clear cut as it seems. So it's all clear cut, okay, it's clear cut kind of thing. It's not clear cut as it is what it looks like. I'm trying to find even the one with the parents where they spoke. There's a whistle blow up on her and everything. Let me see, which one is it? Some of my stuff is a bit, them times. Hold on, let me see. Or maybe we need to go to when. Oh yeah, here it is. The victims. Right, let me go to here. I can't really do videos, that's the thing, The parents are speaking out then too.
Hey. We were ecstatic. First time parents. We were happy and knew everything was as good as it could have been at that time.
And then just tell me when you suddenly realised things were going to go wrong.
Well, on the Saturday, the 9th of April, we had come down with my parents to see the boys. Everything was going well. We held the boys. We went back upstairs because my wife was in the ward upstairs, and then within 10, 15 minutes, a nurse is coming charging upstairs saying you need to come back down. And I was there first because my wife was still in bed. I was the first one into the unit at that time. The image that I saw was just horrendous. That image I'll never forget because it's on the brain. When I went down, I saw doctors around the trolley and they're just pumping his heart like a rag doll, really.
One of the nurses, Mary Griffith, said to me, I've not done anything. And Lucy was behind her. And I was just praying to God, saying, what has happened to my child? I've not done anything wrong in my life to anybody, so why do I have to suffer? And then after 30 minutes, he recovered.
How did you feel at that point?
I was just full of the tears. I didn't know what to think. We're first-time parents. We didn't know what was going on.
What did you see of Lucy Letby at that point?
She was just standing like that.
How was she standing?
Very calm and cool. At the time, her body language and her behaviour totally changed after the incident happened. I think she was unsuccessful with killing my kids. That's why she was very annoyed with us. She thought that I couldn't kill your baby.
Did you suspect Lucy Letby at any point in that time?
No, not at that time. She was very cool, calm, calculated, and a criminal-minded lady, but we didn't notice anything at the time.
We didn't know anything, even afterwards, until the police came knocking.
When the police came to our house and told us, your second child is involved with Lucy, we were shocked, and we said we didn't know about baby L. Why had they not told us about baby L? We did know about baby M, but they hadn't told us about baby L.
So they didn't tell you that he had gone into any difficulty at all?
No, not the insulin and all the blood sugars and all that. We didn't know anything about that until the police came.
And how did you feel when you heard that?
We just couldn't believe it, because we knew about baby M and we accepted that bit, but we didn't know what baby L had gone through the night before. It was just unbelievable. We couldn't believe it.
When you have heard Lucy Letby talk in court, time and time again, denying she harmed any babies,
I feel very sick of her. Oh my God, I go home with a headache. I have to take all every day when I go home, just because I have to listen to her lie and lie and lie. And I say now, enough. Don't tell lies, please. When you've sat there in the dock and taken the oath, I think just please say everything that's right and true. So
This lady is such a wicked lady. She didn't even want to take accountability for her actions. Mind you, these parents are very brave, speaking up, realizing that one of the twins was in distress, and the other one was nearing to come out of this world. And then this lady, who they sat across in probably the courts or whatever, had no remorse. Instead, she just sat there. Now, I would not want to imagine what this parent is going through. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to sit across from someone who's disabled one of your children, or probably unalive the other child. I don't know. I do feel for the parents. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, please leave a comment underneath the video. Tell me is right now. What also the reason why I'm saying it's not sitting with me good, right? There was evidence in her house with handwritten notes, right? And this is what I said. This is where it gets dangerous now, yeah. And this is why I'm with the parents on this one. There's something up with this whole thing, and it doesn't sit good at all. Right? There's handwritten notes in her room, etc. Keepsakes. Let me see. Right, this is what they found in her room.
The evidence seen during Lucy Letby's murder trial, from handwritten notes to cards for parents. The lengthy trial of the UK's most notorious child killer featured an enormous amount of detail, with the prosecution using handwritten notes, documents, and even a sympathy card penned by Letby as evidence of her sinister presence on the Countess of Chester neonatal unit. Thousands of pieces of evidence were gathered for the trial against Lucy Letby, detailing her cruel, calculated, and cynical campaign of murder and attempted murder of babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital. A police search of her home following her first arrest in 2018 uncovered evidence of her sadistic crimes, including handwritten notes and hospital documents. I am evil. 1. A green post-it note found inside a 2016 diary, contained what appeared to look like a confession, I am evil, I did this. On the same note, Letby wrote, I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough. Her defense barrister said the note was written by an anguished woman in despair at being linked to babies' collapses and deaths. That wasn't the only note revealing Letby's frame of mind before her arrest. On a separate note featuring similar small writing scrawled across every inch of space on the page, the killer nurse wrote, "I'm sorry that you couldn't have a chance at life," and help in capital letters. Image. Pic. Cheshire Constabulary. And in another, she said, "I don't want to do this anymore." The prosecution said notes found in Lucy's bedroom amounted to confessions of guilt, rather than the outpourings of a woman in distress. Image. I don't want to do this anymore. Medical documents hidden in bags. Officers raiding Letby's bedroom also found some 257 confidential hospital documents, including handover and resuscitation sheets and blood gas readings, hidden away in bags. Some related to the babies she had been found guilty of hurting or killing. Letby repeatedly said on the witness stand that she simply liked to collect paper or had forgotten to remove the documents from her uniform before heading home.
Fair enough. When you're overworked, yeah, right, you're gonna forget stuff. But the fact that how she did, I'm evil. I'm evil. I did it. I didn't mean to. Unalive you. Now, does this sound like a sane person? Does this not sound like this person is not going to go and do it again? Does this sound like, okay, right, it's just a fluke that how, right, yes, Dr. Lee has come with all the medical stuff on the babies and they're saying that how she's innocent. But when the evidence, what they picked up is quite telling, it's very damning. Very, very damning.
Image. An Ibiza bag which contained hospital documents.
Stop.
The evidence seen during Lucy Letby's murder trial, from handwritten notes to cards for parents. The lengthy trial of the UK's most notorious child killer featured an enormous amount of detail, with a police search of her home following her first arrest in 2018 uncovered evidence of her sadistic crimes, including handwritten notes and hospital documents. I am evil. 1. A green post-it note found inside a 2016 diary, contained what appeared to look like a confession, "I am evil, I did this." On the same note, Letby wrote, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough."
I killed him on purpose.
Her defense barrister said the note was written by an anguished woman in despair at being linked to babies' collapses and deaths. That wasn't the only note revealing Letby's frame of mind before her arrest. On a separate note featuring similar small writing scrawled across every inch of space on the page, the killer nurse wrote, "I'm sorry that you couldn't have a chance at life," and help in capital letters. Image. 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 Pic. The prosecution said notes found in Lucy's bedroom amounted to confessions of guilt, rather than the outpourings of a woman in distress. Image. I don't want to do this anymore. Medical documents hidden in bags. Officers raiding Letby's bedroom also found some 257 confidential hospital documents, including handover and resuscitation sheets and blood gas readings, hidden away in bags. Some related to the babies she had been found guilty of hurting or killing. Letby repeatedly said on the witness stand that she simply liked to collect paper or had forgotten to remove the documents from her uniform before heading home. Image. An Ibiza bag which contained hospital documents. The former neonatal nurse said she couldn't destroy the confidential notes, though jurors were told a paper shredder had been found at Letby's home.
Well, see,
inside Letby's bedroom. Letby cried during the trial as images of her bedroom after the police raid were shown to the court. Later in her questioning, she was asked by the prosecution why she had only cried for herself while giving evidence. Letby denied this was the case. Image. Police photo of Lucy Letby's bedroom. Read more. Separate searches of Letby's phone found she had sent a sympathy card to the parents of a baby she killed, child I, who died in October 2015. She photographed the card hours before the victim's funeral. The card read, "Thinking of you today and always, sorry I cannot be there to say goodbye." She signed off the card, "Lots of love, Lucy." Image. A sympathy card that was shown to the jury in the Lucy Letby murder trial. Handing Letby a whole life sentence, Judge Mr. Justice Gaw said the former nurse kept hospital documents relating to many of her victims as morbid records of the dreadful events surrounding the collapses of her victims and what she had done to them. He said Letby had a fascination with the babies and their families, noting repeated searches Letby made on Facebook for the names of her victims' parents. After a 10-month trial and around 110 hours of jury deliberations, the 33-year-old was convicted of the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 6 more. She will never be released from prison.
But she's trying to come out now, though. She's trying to get released now. That's why they keep doing retrials on retrials. So that's why I'm saying that how it doesn't sit good with me. You see now. Now, if you have gotten this far in the live, right, please leave a comment underneath and tell me what you think of this whole thing. What you think of the whole thing? The fact that how, like, yes, the Duchess of Chestershire, yes, they probably did have real bad issues with a lot of stuff, but then it's on her watch. Some of the deaths occurred during her watch, right? And it lowered when she left a little bit. But then even saying that, right, the conditions is bad as well. And some of the staff have low morality and low everything else going on. Some of them are not trained to do certain stuff, right? And she, on the other hand, I feel it's a different story with her. I feel that how the fact that she went and searched for their names and all this stuff and have the cards, she's sympathy cards and saving what you call it, the caseload, which is, like as he said, a morbid. It's not that you're doing caseload so that you can be doing the paperwork to write your paperwork or each baby's. No, it's not that. Or case studies or whatever. You're keeping them to, like, and it's the babies that was either unalived or injured. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of iffy that how now Mr. Lee's come out of the blue. The campaigners has been pushing for her to come out for a long time. They've been pushing to get her out, for her to have a retrial for ages, and now is kind of happening. So now, like, that's what I'm saying. There's a huge question mark around this whole situation, because no sane person will keep notes of certain things, sympathy cards, all that stuff, right? You will give the sympathy card to the parents because it's on your watch. And like, and I believe I'm with the parents here, really. I'm with the parents. That's what I think. I think that how is very strange. Very, very strange. And if she does get off, then as my daughter predicted, she will do it again. But this time she'll do it to even more vulnerable people who, right, it'll be even worse the next time. So I'm not going to stay on here long. I'm going to come off. I know I have to edit this live, which means I will lose the chat. But I made sure I've highlighted people to make sure that you're there. But thank you for sitting through. If you have sat through and listened, please comment and tell me what you think. Okay? And tell me what you think of the conference, because I've just finished doing the rest of the conference. It's a long conference. And your thoughts on it. And any nurses who's in the audience, you tell me what you think as well. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me, like, if you work in the Duchess of Chester, you can tell me what you think too. Yeah, because I have feel sympathy for you in that way, that how, like, you're working in conditions that should have been improved, and the fact that how they have to lower the levels so that you can do better work to give to the children what is needed to them, and all sorts of stuff. So with that said, I'm going to come off and I'll see you in the next live. I'm actually going to take a break because this is a lot. It's a lot. Okay, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. So with that said, I will see you in the next one. Well, thank you. I then forgot to tell my people bye. Thank you, Ebony Locks, for coming through, and thank you, Alex, for coming through as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Later. Bye.